Hey, what's up guys? Alex here. Welcome to part 2 of a little series I'm doing of how you can stay calm in the middle of a crisis. I'm filming this in the middle of the COVID-19 outbreak that is gripping our entire planet and has many of us worried and thrown out of our schedules and in the middle of a crisis, and many of us are freaking out. But how can we stay calm in this crisis, and not just in this crisis, but in the crisis that we face in the future? Well, here's what I want to talk to you about today. I talked about what you can control in the first video, and if you haven't watched that, make sure you go back and check it out. But what I want to talk to you about today is, what are you consuming? So what are you consuming during this crisis? I already touched on it a little bit in the first video, but I want to dive in a little bit more. Most of us are spending more time online and consuming content right now than probably we ever have in our lives. I mean, I've been around social media for quite a while. I love my Netflix. I love Hulu. I love social media. I love the internet, all that stuff, YouTube, so many great things out there. But we are consuming so much right now because we can't get out, because we can't normally do our favorite activities. Maybe you can't exercise. Maybe you can't go outside as much as you want. You can't go to the parks, can't go out to dinner, can't go to the movies, these different things. So we're consuming a lot of stuff. And as bad as it sounds, most of the things that we're consuming are pretty negative. Even if it comes across as news, it's still pretty negative. And so whether you're on Facebook or Instagram, or you're watching CNN or Fox News or whatever it may be, those things that we're consuming can get really negative and really dark. And it can start to feed the fear that we already have inside of us. It can make us feel like things are worse than they really are. I mean, you watch the news long enough, even in the middle of when it's just a normal day and it's not a pandemic, you will start to think that everything is falling apart because it's what we're consuming. And unfortunately, the way that these systems are designed, Facebook and YouTube and the news, they want you to consume more and more. I don't know if you realize this or not, but they are getting you to watch so that they can make money. I mean, it's maybe a free service, but they're making money off of the more time that you click on their website, the time that you spend watching their videos and watching the news. And I'm not saying don't do any of that. I'm just saying watch how much you consume. Watch what you're consuming. Because like I mentioned in the first video, during this time, whatever is inside of you, whatever you're consuming, when you're squeezed, when you come into a hard situation, when you're hard pressed, whatever's inside of you is going to come out of you. And so right now, I would encourage you, this should be the time where you start consuming more of God's word than ever before. You start consuming more positivity than ever before. You start listening to worship music. Maybe you start listening to affirmations. Maybe you start speaking positive things over your life. Maybe you start encouraging other people. Maybe you get people in your life that are going to encourage you. But you need to make sure that you are consuming more positive things, more encouraging things than you are all of the negativity. Make sure what you're consuming matches the person that you want to be. Because what you are consuming is going to begin to create the world that you see and the outlook that you have. I know that might be a little drastic and seem a little dramatic, but as you begin to consume things, you're going to begin to have that worldview. You're going to begin to have those opinions. So do you want to have the darkness and the fear and the anxiety, or do you want to have the opinions and the outlook of what God's word says about you? What God says about you, the promises that He has in your life? What outlook do you want to see in the world? Because what you consume is going to create the world that you see. And so to make sure that you're staying calm in the middle of a crisis, make sure that you check what you're consuming. Make sure that you're consuming positivity. Make sure that you're consuming affirmations. Make sure that you're consuming love and peace and joy and righteousness and all these things that the Bible promises and that God promises. Don't just consume other fear and other panic. Maybe you have to tell some people that are your friends and you're talking and you're talking about what's going on and they're just negative and they're panicking. Maybe you're just going to have to tell them, hey, I don't want to talk about that right now. I don't really want to talk about how worried we are and how scared we are. I want to talk about how God's going to take us through this. I want to talk about how we're going to be better on the other side of this. I want to talk about how God is going to turn this around and use it for good. I'm going to allow what I'm consuming to create the world around me. So make sure you check what you're consuming so that you can stay calm in the middle of this crisis. We got one more video that's going to be coming out soon, so make sure you check for that. Can't wait to see you guys then.